Here we are. Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Allie Brown. I'm here with Kris Plachy. How are you, Kris?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's when you shut the door, life's pretty good. When when you're in your zone, when I'm talking to people like you, everything's awesome. And you and I were on the call yesterday with my members of the trust, and we were talking about there is this incredible energy to tap into right now if we let it, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
it's staying in that zone. So when I'm kind of back in here and like in the zone, it's so great to tap into. Well, let me give a formal introduction. So first of all, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Allie Brown, and this is my series, We Lead Live, and we do this kind of seasonally. And I pull in just some amazing women that I want you all to hear from. These women have built 7, 8, even 9-figure companies. And more importantly, they really have something to share from the wisdom they have gained in their career, in everything that they're doing. And I wanted to bring Kris on today specifically because of her expertise in team and leadership. And Kris, if you don't mind, I'm going to share kind of how we connected, a little bit of that story. And,
Yeah.
and I'll probably have you share more about your background. It's easier for you to do that. And someone needs to text me and tell me how to turn off notifications on my Mac.
Well, you know what? The good news is I didn't hear it. So there you go.
It's always my mom. I see these things. Did Brett like the coleslaw? I'm like, I'm in the middle of something right now. Yeah. So I forgot to turn those off, and I'll figure it out later. But so how Kris and I met was Kris actually hired me for a VIP strategy day. It was a year ago now, I think.
A year ago, like almost like right now, honestly.
Yeah, when life was normalish. And and I remember just being, your business was already doing great, but you wanted to kind of a check-in to see like, okay, where could this go? Let's have some fun. People need this. And I was so impressed with Kris's content. I think we had a follow-up call from that day. I was saying, listen, I'd like to get a session or two with you because, we all need frameworks. I think we're moving into a space where so many of us start building businesses, and we're very blessed to have a talent or gift or something to offer, and we become an entrepreneur, and then we need to grow a team. And this is nothing we've learned before. My last days in corporate or a real company was 20 years ago. And then I had to really learn a lot in the process. And when I saw your content and your material, it was probably the clearest, easiest to understand, and resonated with me because there are a lot of styles out there. But could you just start giving a little context to the world you came from, and maybe more about what the work you do now, and what you see needed so badly?
Absolutely. So the short tale is I got into a management role when I was really young. I was in a startup business. We had some support, but not a lot. I had to figure it out. I sort of hated it. I hated the part about managing people where I was used to being really independent and being successful. So I was a salesperson, right? So I managed my own success. Then I became a manager and I had to get results through other people. And that was really, really hard for me because I was very caught up in how they felt and feeling guilty and, all those things that a lot of us go through, whether we work in a business or we have our own business. And so I figured out mechanisms for myself through my own learning and through mentorship of people that I met. And that led to me growing in my career. Then I ended up creating a coaching team within the business I was working in. And then I left that company about 8.5, almost 9 years ago now, and started my own business coaching other leaders on how to lead and really how to manage, how to be a managing leader. So we talk a lot about management, leadership, right? Those get intermixed. And, with very limited exception, I haven't met someone who's in a true leadership role who didn't still have someone they had to manage. And I think a lot of people like leading. They don't love managing. And in order to really grow your business, you have to be able to do both. And so I think what I've done is created a blueprint for CEOs, for female entrepreneurs who really want to step into that leadership space, but they still have to understand the foundations and mechanisms and processes to help them manage and get results for their business through other people, without at the same time sort of like, losing their minds.
Yeah. What were the things you saw when you came out of that world kind of into our world, right? Like this entrepreneurial, a lot of online, Wild West, like we just build it as we fly it, right?
Yes.
What were some observations you made coming from your prior experience, mistakes, or maybe things that surprised you?
I think one of the most common things I see for entrepreneurs who lead is this mistaken belief or confidence that comes from revenue. So a lot of entrepreneurs think that because they make a lot of money, they must know what they're doing to manage a team.
It is a bit of a sign, though. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. You can give us some credit.
No, I'm not saying it's dismiss it, but it has
false
a threshold. It's a threshold
tell me about that. Okay.
For everybody. And so for some clients, it's at $1 million in revenue, and they realize, oh, the wheels are coming off. I've had some clients who are $10 million, and they realize, oh, wait, this thing just got too big for me. And that's when they don't have replicatable processes, just like you do to make revenue, to make money. You need to have systems to manage team. And so I think that was probably the biggest observation. And second of all, I think your point is really good. Like, it is the Wild West for entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs haven't worked in companies. So they really are winging it. And in many cases, I think entrepreneurs have more figured out as it relates to managing because they have a lot more freedom and they can be much more flexible. But at the same time, they get a little in over their skis sometimes. And that's where there's such a connection to the business when you start your own company that could be hard to pull apart for my clients because they take things so personally and they're so emotionally invested in the success of the business that when employees don't do what they want, it's very hard emotionally on them, burdensome.
Yeah. Also, I would say, the thing that I knew I had to personally not just commit to, but create a system that would support me in doing that is having more one-on-one time with a lot of my team. And I will say this year has been more challenging. I actually committed to hiring locally because I value so much having team in person. And there's some days they work at home. There were some days they were coming here. And then this year happened and I felt a bit of a disconnect. And I'm so glad now they're happy. They're like, oh, we missed it. Come on over. I got a big space. Everyone can space out and we kind of do some co-working and meeting. And what are the things that you see as far as like what we, usually you come into someone at like a business like mine, or many of you watching who are at a level that you have at least a small team now, what are some things they need to start implementing right away?
So it's interesting because I think that as a big thinker, visionary, sometimes what we want is to find people who can match and work with us at a strategic level. But really, as you're in those growth phases of your business, what you need are more hands, not more brains. And so hopefully I'm answering your question, but some of those first things that we need are exactly what you said. Surround yourself with other people who can help implement your vision, right? So one of the first things we have to learn and get comfortable with is, how do I explain to someone and help someone really see what it is I want done in the world, so that then they can go in their corner of wherever, your house or their virtual space, and execute and get it done in a way that you feel really good about it. So because as we grow, one of the first things we often think we want is that ability to have somebody else make decisions for us. And there's eventually a place where that can happen, but that's the magic of really developing your leadership skill, is building that construct underneath you or next to you, depending on your perspective. So that's where I always recommend you start, is you have to practice even with an assistant, right? Like, get an assistant and learn how to have an assistant who can get you the right flight, get you the right seats on the plane, get you the right room in a hotel, get you the right, because that forces you to learn how to communicate in a way that you're not used to. Because if you are, especially if you grow out of that solopreneur role, you're so used to taking care of it all yourself that, getting it into other people is challenging. So, yeah.
So do you think a lot of people make the mistake first of hiring someone a higher level instead of kind of filling out to delegate everything they need to get done first?
Yes, I think a lot,
Okay.
or they wish for it. And so then they don't find good tactical people. It's like they want to find a tactical person who can also figure out what their, marketing strategy should be. Like,
Okay.
no, we need, those are very different people. And right now, we know if you have a proven business model and you're making money, you just need people to help you. You need more hands. You don't need more people to come up with better ways. That will come. That will come. And that's a good goal. If you are already there and you have all this great tactical team, now that hiring of those strategic thinkers, that's a whole new growth spurt for you as a leader to allow other people's ideas into your business. Yeah.
Do you find it is different managing people virtually versus in person, or do you find it's really the same framework, but you have to commit to it?
To me, it's exactly the same. And I think I have an advantage because before I even started my business, I managed a team virtually. I love team time. I love getting together. I love being with people. And this has been a tough year because of that. But I don't have any, I don't think it's any different. The key to any successful team dynamic is communication, whether I'm 2,000 miles away from you or 2 feet away from you. And I've seen both be terrible and both be amazing. So that to me is the key, is knowing people, connecting with them, talking to them.
Yeah. Before I forget, tell us about, I'm a part of something that you're offering soon.
Yes.
It's called How to CEO.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Tell us about the things that you're focusing on in this program and why it's needed.
Okay. So How to CEO, thank you, is for female entrepreneurs, is a 12-week live program that we teach and also then collapse in application coaching. So you come to a live call and then we coach you through the process of integrating it. And each week we go through a section of what I call the CEO blueprint for your team. And that's really building all of the infrastructure as it relates to creating a high-performing, retained, engaged team, right? So we start from the top, which is you and the way that you think about yourself. Do you even consider yourself a CEO? And maybe you don't call yourself that, but what do you make it mean that you're in charge? And do you really step into, a lot of women don't even have a voice in their who they want to be as leaders, which I know you and I talk a lot about. And then we look at what I call a leadership operating system, which is really, how do you lead? What are all of the elements of leading a team? Your vision, your values, your expectations, the roles, the measures, the follow through. How do you hire people? How do you even know if you should hire someone? How do you fire people? And how do you know if you should fire someone? How do you?
That's a big thing people do, right? Hanging on to the wrong person too long. So that's a valuable section.
Yeah, every single new client I talk to, that's usually one of the first. I have this gal that's been on my team for like.
And they make a face when they talk about her too. That's how you know. They'll be like,
it's really nice.
Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry. I'm like, what's the Sherry face?
Once before. It's just always this person, and they're lovely people. But they're probably no longer suited for the business that you have today. So what do you do about that? How do you handle that? Mm-hmm. How do you coach people? How do you deal with difficult people? How do you deal with office or team icky gossip drama? So, there's so much I know women wrangle that I feel like they think they should just be good at. And I want to really hold space for you to know, no, it's okay if you're not good at it. You can learn, and that's what I teach. So it's very compact, and then we have a lab where we can continue to support you with all of the different day-to-day challenges of leading and managing. But it's powerful. We have guest experts like yourself and Eleanor Beaton and Brooke Castillo, Stacy Tushel. I think these will all be names that a lot of people are familiar with. Tonya Lee, Layla Hormozi, Dr.
URL.
Yeah.
What's that? Sorry. What's the URL? Where can they go?
howtoceoregister.com.
Okay.
That's where all the information is. Yep.
Good. I think you should rename it, just make all your team problems go away and everyone watching will sign up. Really just cut to the chase. Like that's the dream, right? That we'll wake up and I think, you just identified something that, especially those of us who I would say, are also in some form of business or marketing advisory.
Mm.
There is this feeling like it's this one area that you feel like you should just somehow know to have mastered, right? Because you're a business expert in some way or a marketing expert, right?
Yeah.
When really, I want all of you to take in that for the women that I've worked with, and this is, now 20 years of experience and all the women who've come through my door, and now especially the last 10 years at these 7-8 figure levels, hands down, one of the top 3 issues they come in with is team issues. So if you master this, if you learn some of these skills, these aren't things that expire. These aren't things that, like, it's not like learning like the latest dance in your TikTok videos or whatever. It's all these like tactics. This is the real business stuff. This is the real leadership stuff that if you invest in and commit to, I've seen it time and time again, it will pay for itself for a long, long time. And it's something that may not be the sexy thing, right? It's something that, like, the people problems and issues, but like you hear it again and again and again. And this is what we don't like to, is having to take a breath and take a step back from go, 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 grow, right? And work on this stuff.
Yeah.
But, I've experienced it. The women I've worked with have experienced it, especially the women who've worked with you have experienced it.
Yeah, there's a few members of the trust actually that have been clients of mine, which has been so fun. So
yeah. And if they weren't, they are becoming now. Yeah. So tell us also, in your experience, let's talk about hiring and firing for a minute, and especially for women, and why this is, because mostly we do have mostly women watching. And hello guys, thanks for joining us.
Hi. We love them.
I know for me too, I had to go through a period years ago of the whole, like, being light with the team, making sure that everyone was happy. And then there was this period though that I moved into really being a leader and giving myself permission to hire, fire, make changes, ask for performance. Tell us about how this applies specifically to women.
Okay, so all of the things that you just said, the wanting to be liked is a huge problem, and it starts right away with hiring. So the majority of the women that I know that I coach are real collaborators. They like people. They like connecting with people, and so even when we start hiring, right, we just immediately, if we like someone, we're attracted to them. And then what we haven't done is built a system for hiring them so we can check ourselves, right? So when we build a team of people that we like and we want us to like them, or we want them to like us, I should say. It becomes almost impossible to have difficult conversations, to give feedback, to hold people accountable, because we're way too wrapped up in both of our emotional responses. Our emotional health is contingent on everybody being happy. And that actually ends up creating very toxic work environments because it's not real. Everybody can't always be happy. Welcome to 2021, right? Like, it's a 50-50 proposition. Some days are great. Some days are terrible. What matters as a leader is how you show up to people, even when they have disappointed you, even when they haven't met an expectation. Can you still show up? Because what that does, if I want you to like me, the natural bounce back of that is you should do things to please me too, as an employee. And so then we end up with CEOs who are completely frustrated because all of these people in their business are totally dependent on them. We create this very unhealthy codependency. Why can't anybody make a decision? Well, they don't want to disappoint you. Why don't they want to disappoint me? Because when you're disappointed, this whole likey thing doesn't exist that you've set up, right? So I always like to just ground it. The reason that you hire people is to deliver results. Period. You don't hire people to be part of your employee family. You would hire people to deliver an outcome. Now, if you all like laugh and have a good time together, this is good news, and I'm all in. But we can never lose sight of that, and neither can they.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So
this is a whole new journey for women, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's in our DNA to be liked, to keep everything, no conflict, everything's cool, right? We're all good, right? Because
Everybody's
it's literally how we're wired. So this is something we have to relearn over and over and over, and a power that we need to step into.
Yes.
What's your take on contractors versus full time? I get that question a lot, and I wanted your take on that.
So it absolutely depends on the kind of business you want to run. And I don't think there's a bad answer. I think it's just make sure you're clear about it. Like my business is Contractors, and I actually don't know that will ever be different. I just put everybody on retainer because I hate paying people by the hour. I absolutely despise it. I don't want to count hours. I don't want to know how many hours. I just want to know, again, is it done? That's what I'm paying you for. I'm not paying you for how much time you work or what your experience is. None of that. I'm paying you for, did it get done by 5 o'clock on Friday? Because that's what I asked for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you want a business where you provide benefits and you provide vacation time and you provide a 401k contribution, some women, that's really important to them. They want to create that for other people. Do it, but know what that means. Talk to your accountant, talk to your tax person, really be informed about what you're creating. Is it sustainable? So I think you could have a team of 20 contractors just as easily as a team of 20 employees. It really just depends on what kind of business you want to run. Yeah.
I know for me, I kind of burn out. I had PTSD from a big team years ago. I was like, I'm never hiring employees again.
Yes.
It's going to be contractors forever. And a few years of that model, it worked great. Then I got fired up again. This was after the kids were probably, getting into like 4 or 5 years old. And those of you who've had kids, there's kind of like this new energy when you realize they're going to be fine, like, then you're packing the lunch and scooting them out. Like, oh man, I kind of miss that sometimes.
Yes.
And I had this new energy and I wanted to move faster. I wanted to do more. And I was starting to get on fire. And I know for me, I wanted the availability of a full-time person and the loyalty of a full-time person, which was different. And it's been at different times. So all of you watching, you'll be at different times in your business, different times in your team. And so honor, how your team may reflect how you want to work. And so for me, it was like, all right, that means we're getting health insurance. I want to take care of these girls and, do a few things that I would never have done otherwise. But for me, I have to say it's been so great. I'm big on having a tight, loyal team, and I love the in-person. So I gave myself permission to do it that way, and I think it's important for everyone to honor the way they want to work. But for me, it was speed. And, I don't like hearing like, oh, I'm working with another client today.
Right. Oh, I'm not available between 2 and 4.
So suddenly, let's say it's, Gina, now the whole team's working around Gina. And I'm like, what just happened here? No, everyone has to be on our side.
Yeah. And I think that's super important. And I wanted to tell you, the trust meeting that you had yesterday was so powerful, right? And for those of you watching who aren't in the trust, you should really be considering it. But we went around and really talked about what our intention was for the year. And this is just something, it's like this where these coexist to me, because you're a woman wanting to create something in the world, an experience, a feeling, a lifestyle, or all of the above, right? And as we look at what our intentions are, I think that's incredibly powerful that comes from us. And if you're a woman with a business, you have to layer that into whatever business you also offer the world. And what do you do every day? So us going around and talking in the trust about what we really want to create for ourselves this year is such a powerful conversation. And the things that women shared were so inspiring and meaningful. And my brain, of course, is like, and so how do you create the business that allows you to have that experience in the world? Like they're natural extensions. So when you say, right, I know what I want, that's critical. You have to think that way. It can't just be, oh, well, I took a leadership class on a weekend and they told me I need to set up my business like this. No. Right?
I just wrote down, based on something you said, like how we all had a dream, we had a vision, we had an intention. Now the next step is, how do you set up your business to support that dream?
Yes.
It's flipping the thinking a bit, that it's not separate, like design that around to support what you want. And that could be even personal desires as well.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah. Because I'm like you, the most people I ever had in my downline was 250. And I'm never doing that again. Right. I had like 15 managers. I'm like, this is not ever happening. It was great training. I love 5.
Like, 5's your sweet spot.
Right.
I can get down with 5 people.
I'm into the 5. Yeah. So but I know why, because I know what I'm trying to create in the world, and that it doesn't require hordes of people, and it would actually detract from what I'm doing if I had that kind of business.
Yeah. I'm going to give a quick promo here for the trust. So, some of you have heard me talk about this before. I want to let you know, though, that I have a special informational call coming up. So here's the deal. What the trust is, it's a premier new alternative network, I would say, for women. That sounds weird, though, doesn't it? Alternative network. I don't know. We're so different, and it is so hard to describe. But like on that call yesterday, I'm just like, wow, it is just so different than your average mastermind group networking club. This is for women at a 7- and 8-figure level, because the conversations are different at that level. But what's beautiful about it is it's becoming like there's like a soul to this group. There's like this soul connection, and it is quite extraordinary. So if you are in that range, or somebody who could be interested, I have a informational call coming up. Let me put this on the screen. Jointhetrust.org/private invitation. And this is going to be on Wednesday, February 3rd. I'm going to be walking through the benefits of the trust, why I created this, everything we have coming up this year, the type of women that are in this group. Average revenues are typically around 5 million, stretches all the way up to 30. I think we have 50 in there as well. It's a diverse group, a fascinating group, and I would love to tell you more about it. Jointhetrust.org/private invitation. How do we get back to us?
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Yes. Great.
Yeah. Over the years, I'm curious, tell me about your networks. And so we've been talking about you giving advice. Now let's go back to you and your kind of evolution over your career. How have your networks and connections been important to you? Don't think I've ever asked you that.
They've been everything. So much so that as I've grown my business, the last thing I'm working on in my business is like creating a business through more traditional marketing methodologies, because my business and my growth has always been based on my relationships and my referrals and my network. I consider myself incredibly lucky to be standing in circles with amazing humans, supporting interested, smart, curious, provocative thinkers that have indulged my thinking too, right? I've always been a little bit of that maverick, right? Like, well, the one who says, what about, right? And it's the people who have been interested in that I have clung to and listened to and have allowed to sort of like, they allow me to explore what I think the world needs. And so I can't say enough about that I attribute where I am today to the people that I've known in my life who have been a part of this for me in, some in small ways and some in really large ways. So I'm all about it.
Yeah. Thank you. Last words of advice for everyone on team and, managing in the year of 2021, and give that link out again for your program as well that I'm going to be a part of.
Okay. Yes, let's do it. So, it's interesting. Yesterday I had a couple of calls on some of the women on my call, and both of them asked the same question, which is, how do I lead through this? And, we've
meaning just like their specific situation, or like the world in general, right? Like this.
Yeah. It was one gal, there was a huge storm, trees down, and she realized her whole team didn't respond. They waited for her and she was asleep. She didn't even know what was going on. Right. So she woke up.
It's not funny, but it is.
It's 2021. ish. I don't even want
Not the storm, but like they're all waiting for her, like kind of.
They're all waiting for her. She's like,
yeah.
how do I lead through this? And then the other person, right? Well, my employee has COVID. Their kid has COVID, or they have, but now we can't get a nanny, and he can't, and he's trying to talk to clients. How do I lead through this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So what we decided is that we have to, entrepreneurs don't think about it. Businesses, big companies think through, this is excessive, but disaster plans.
I was just supposed to say disaster scenario plan.
Yes.
We kind of just had one here. We had a little quick meeting on that. Like if the internet blows up, here's our address.
Yes. What happens if the phones die? What happens if the Wi-Fi goes down? And so we did. So my advice for 2021 to anyone listening who has a business is take a hot minute. And if you've got a manager or two leaders or whoever's in your business, sit down and really look at what do we need to be factoring into our business? What are the common challenges that we're facing? And what are some, sort of disaster delegation strategies that we need to implement? If 2020 didn't teach us that, 2021 is already poking the bear. So how about we get ourselves equipped? Because then you have some control. You have a plan. That is always the most overwhelming part of leading a company, is feeling like you're behind the 8 ball or too far over your skis, right? So that's my biggest advice. Is I think 2020 taught us we have a lot more control than we think we do, as long as you engage in that forward thinking and you put strategies and processes and procedures in place that aren't just about clients, they're also about the team.
Yeah. I think you need a new bonus for like an opt-in or something on like your 2021 disaster preparedness team plan.
We're actually going to do a webinar on Saturday.
I think it's smart though, because we're all sitting around going, well, what would we do? You don't think about these things. Like in their local, I'm lucky they're local. They'll probably show up here to bunker down. But
I might come down there.
Come to your house.
Yeah, we actually are doing a how do I lead through this? That's what we're calling it. It's a webinar.
Yeah. So we were just talking through like, where would you be here? Would you go to your parents? Like, is there a phone number? And we should probably have an emergency phone number. Anyway, it brought up some good questions and probably things we should. I'm sure big companies have that stuff on file all the time, but we actually never had an emergency number, for everybody. And just thinking through little things like that, it was a good exercise.
Yeah, really powerful. And it just puts you again in that leadership role. So you're not behind it. You are, let's get in front of it, which is of course what leaders do.
Yeah. I did assure the girls' payrolls on autopilot. So if I'm like, I think you'll keep getting paid. I don't understand.
Yeah, as long as
sure, but you won't have bills either. So, I don't know. So we just go down this zombie apocalypse rabbit hole. You should have a zombie apocalypse backup plan for all.
There we go. I love it. It's perfect.
I love it. Kris, you're awesome. We could have a show going all day. So I hope you all consider looking at Kris's program. Give the link one more time.
howtoceoregister.com.
Okay, have a look at it, because I'm a part of it. There's some other stellar women who are part of it that I highly recommend.
Yes.
It's you will get so much out of this. And we really hope that, Kris and I are both going to be are you coming to the Miami meeting? I hope so.
I don't know yet. I might be in Hawaii, but I'll talk to you that offline. But
okay, all right. We'll chat about it.
I won't be yet.
I'm going to be there. I'll be going to be there. We're planning events. We're moving forward. 2021 is going to be an incredible year if you allow it, if you set the intention for it, and if you set up systems now to support you. So get into the right groups you need to be in, get around the right people you need to be in, learn from the right people like Kris here, and it will be a fantastic year. We want to set that intention and really anchor you in that place coming out of this meeting. So Kris, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate having you here, everybody. And I'll give that link for the call one more time on the way out. Jointhetrust.org/private invitation. If you're at 7 and 8 figures, you're like, you know what, I'll take a look at this. I want to hear what Allie has to say. Come to that call. I'm hosting it personally. There is a brief application to make sure you qualify for the call, because this is a small, intimate group that I'll be talking to. Wednesday, February 3rd, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Pass it on if it's not a good fit for you yet. There's so many women, people, and people are really looking for the right groups and people to be around right now. And it's
Yeah.
a custom fit for everybody. So if this doesn't call to you, please forward this to a woman you know who's at that level, and she's probably saying, you know what, I need to be part of some new circles. Have a look at that. Okay,
So
great. Have a great day. Great. Bye, Kris.
thank you. Bye.